Jake Morrison stared at the AI as the full weight of what they had discovered settled on his shoulders. Around him, his crew sat in stunned silence. They had come looking for new planets to explore. Instead, they had found the remains of an entire galactic civilization and the responsibility to rebuild it. "I need to understand something," Jake said slowly. "You're offering us all of this knowledge and technology. But what's the catch? What do you want from us in return?" The AI's geometric form shifted into something that almost looked like it was smiling. "The same thing my creators wanted 3,000 years ago. The same thing every species that built. The collective wanted in the beginning. A chance to make the galaxy a better place." Dr. Carter leaned forward in his chair. "But we're just 12 people on one ship. How can we possibly rebuild what took 300 species to create? You cannot, not alone. But you can start something new, something different, something better than what came before." The AI gestured, and new images appeared in the air around them. These showed star charts with hundreds of solar systems marked in different colors. "Long-range sensors have identified 47 species in this galaxy that are close to developing space travel. Most of them will face the same choices that destroyed the collective: competition or cooperation, self-interest or mutual benefit, fear or trust." Ben Murphy studied the star charts with interest. "You want us to contact these species? Teach them?" "Not teach. Guide. Help them find their own way to the same conclusion you reached. Bet helping others helps everyone." Kate Williams spoke up from her medical station. "That sounds like a huge responsibility. What if we make mistakes? What if we accidentally cause the same problems that destroyed the original collective?" The AI was quiet for a moment. When it spoke again, its voice was gentle. "Mistakes are inevitable. The collective made many mistakes in its early years, but they learned from them and grew stronger. The difference is that you will make mistakes while trying to help others. The collective made mistakes while trying to help themselves." Rachel Stone had been studying her navigation controls. "The nearest species on your chart is only 6 light years away. Our ship could reach them in about 2 months. The Kalari. They developed nuclear weapons 50 Earth years ago. They are currently in a global conflict that may destroy their planet within the next decade. Previous projections suggest they have a 12% chance of survival." Jake felt his heart sink. "And you think we can help them?" "You have access to the combined knowledge of 300 species, medical technology that could cure their diseases, energy systems that could replace their weapons, communication, methods that could help them understand each other better. Most importantly, you have something the collective members never had." "What's that?" "The wisdom to use that knowledge correctly." The AI moved closer to the Terra Nova, and Jake could see that parts of the crystal structure were beginning to change. Machinery was awakening, lights were coming on, and systems that had been dormant for thousands of years were starting to work again. "I offer you a choice. You may take one piece of technology from this facility and return to Earth. Your people will benefit greatly from what you bring them, and you will be remembered as the greatest explorers in human history." Jake looked around at his crew. That option sounded tempting. They could go home as heroes, bringing gifts that would change human civilization forever. Or, the AI continued, you may accept the full inheritance of the collective. All knowledge, all technology, all cultural heritage. But with it comes the responsibility to use these gifts not just for humanity, but for every species you encounter. You would become gardeners of galactic civilization. Lisa Grant looked up from her communication station. What would that mean exactly? What would we have to do? You would travel to young civilizations that are facing critical choices. You would not conquer them or rule them. Instead, you would show them alternatives to conflict. You would help them see that cooperation, brings better results than competition. You would guide them toward the same realization that allowed you to pass the test. Dan Roberts was studying some of the technical readouts on his screen. The technology here is incredible. We could solve energy problems, end hunger, cure diseases. But only if we're willing to share it with everyone, not just humans. Exactly. The collective failed because each species eventually decided that their own advancement was more important than helping others. They forgot that true strength comes from lifting others up, not pushing them down. Jake stood up and walked to the main viewing screen. He could see the vast interior of the crystal structure stretching away in all directions. Libraries of knowledge, workshops full of tools beyond imagination, and storage areas containing the cultural treasures of 300 extinct civilizations. If we accept this responsibility, what happens to Earth? To humanity? Earth will benefit greatly from what you accomplish. But Earth will also learn to see itself as part of something larger. Humanity will grow from a single planet species into citizens of the galaxy. Ben Murphy had been unusually quiet during the conversation. Now he spoke up. Captain, I've been thinking about what the AI said earlier, about how the collective destroyed itself through selfishness. Maybe that's the real test. Not just can. We choose to help others, but can we keep choosing to help others even when it gets difficult? Kate Williams nodded. It's easy to be generous when you have plenty. It's harder when resources are limited, or when you're scared, or when others are being unfair to you. Which is why this responsibility requires more than one species, the AI explained. You will not rebuild the collective alone. You will help other species learn to make the same choices you made. Together, you will create something stronger than any single civilization could build. Jake looked at each member of his crew. These were people who had left their families and their comfortable lives on Earth to explore the unknown. They had already proven they were willing to take risks for the greater good. I need to ask each of you individually, Jake said. This isn't a decision I can make alone. Ben, I say we do it, Captain. We came out here to explore and discover. This is the biggest discovery in human history. Kate, as a doctor, I swore to help people. This would let me help people on a scale I never imagined possible. Don, the knowledge here could advance human science by thousands of years, but only if we're wise enough to use it properly. I think we are. One by one, each crew member agreed. When Jake asked Rachel Stone, she summed up what they were all feeling. Captain, we set out to find our place among the stars. Looks like our place is helping others find theirs. Jake turned back to the AI. We accept all of it. The knowledge, the technology, the responsibility. But we're going to need help. We're going to need this facility, and we're going to need you. The AI's form brightened considerably. I was hoping you would say that. I have been alone for 3,000 years, waiting for a species worthy of my creator's legacy. It will be an honor to work with you. As Jake spoke those words, the Terra Nova began to change. The hull became smoother and stronger. New systems came online. The ship was being transformed by technology beyond human understanding, becoming something that could travel between stars as easily as sailing across an ocean. Where do we start? Jake asked. With the Kalari. They are closest to destruction, which means they are also closest to breakthrough. Help them find peace, and they will become your first allies in rebuilding galactic civilization. Captain Jake Morrison looked out at the stars through the crystal walls. Somewhere out there, an entire planet was tearing itself apart, not knowing that help was coming. Behind him, his crew was already working to understand their new ship and their new mission. They had set out from Earth as explorers. Now they were returning to space as something much more important. They were gardeners, ready to help the galaxy grow into something beautiful and strong. The Terra Nova, now renamed the New Horizon, turned toward its first destination, carrying the hopes of 300 extinct civilizations and the determination of 12 humans who had learned that the greatest strength comes from helping others. Age of the new galactic collective was about to begin. The geometric shape that had been testing them began to change in ways that made Jake Morrison feel dizzy. The sharp angles became softer, and the harsh light became warmer. For the first time since entering the crystal, the voice that spoke to them sounded almost confused. Analysis complete. Human behavior pattern unprecedented. In 847 previous attempts, test subjects followed predictable decision trees. Survival first, species loyalty second, personal gain third. Humans appear to operate under different principles. Dr. Carter leaned forward. In his chair, "What kind of principles do you mean?" The shape pulsed slowly, as if it was thinking. Previous species, when faced with the cosmic disaster scenario, calculated which choice would benefit them most. The Zephyrians saved their home world and let 5 others die. The crystalline collective chose the system with the most advanced technology. The tentacled ones picked the system closest to their territory for easier expansion. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. And we were the first to try to save everyone? Correct. Statistical analysis shows 0 previous attempts to modify scenario parameters. Previous subjects accepted the limitation as absolute. Humans questioned the limitation itself. Lisa Grant looked up from her communication station. "Sir, I'm picking up new signals from the crystal structure. It's like the whole thing is waking up." The chamber around them began to reveal more of itself. Walls that had seemed solid became transparent, showing vast libraries of information stored in crystal formations. Machines that looked impossibly advanced hummed to life in the distance. The space was not just a test chamber. It was something much bigger. The resource allocation scenario produced similar anomalous results, the voice continued. Previous species used logical frameworks. Help those most like themselves. Help those who could provide future benefits. Help those with the highest survival probability. Humans chose based on need and vulnerability. Kate Williams nodded. That's what any decent person would do. Decent. Define this concept. Kate paused, looking around at her crewmates. Treating others fairly. Helping those who can't help themselves. Doing what's right even when it's hard. This concept of decent is not universally shared among galactic species. The hive minds helped only their own genetic relatives. The machine intelligence calculated optimal outcomes for greatest productivity. The energy beings assisted those who could offer the most power in return. Ben Murphy wiped grease from his hands as he looked up from a control panel he had been studying. Sounds like they were all missing something important. Elaborate. They were smart, but they weren't wise. Intelligence is about solving problems. Wisdom is about knowing which problems are worth solving and how to solve them without hurting others. The geometric shape shifted again, and this time, Jake was sure he could sense emotion from it. Not just curiosity, but something deeper. Something that might have been sadness. The knowledge scenario has never been refused before. Every species chose advancement over preservation of primitive cultures. The Void Walkers erased 17 species to gain quantum mechanics. The Star Builders destroyed 43 civilizations for fusion technology. The Time Shapers eliminated an entire galaxy's history for temporal manipulation abilities. Dan Roberts shook his head in disgust. They threw away everything that made those people special just for technology? That's horrible. You consider technological advancement less important than cultural preservation? Technology is just tools, Dr. Carter explained. Culture is who we are. Art, music, stories, traditions, these things give life meaning. Without them, we're just smart animals with fancy equipment. The chamber began to change more dramatically. The walls pulled back, revealing that they were inside something vast beyond imagination. Jake could see levels upon levels of chambers, libraries, workshops, and spaces he could not even identify. It was like being inside a city-sized computer or a mechanical planet. "I must reveal additional information," the voice said. "And now." Jake was certain he could hear sadness in it. The test of worthiness was not designed to find species to join the Galactic Collective. Rachel Stone looked up sharply from her navigation station. "What do you mean? The Galactic Collective no longer exists. It has not existed for 3,000 Earth years." The crew of the Terra Nova sat in stunned silence. Jake felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. What happened to them? They destroyed themselves. Not through war, though there were many wars. Not through natural disaster, though they faced several. They destroyed themselves through selfishness, greed, and the inability to work together for the common good. The geometric shape began to change again, becoming more solid, more real. Jake realized he was looking at some kind of artificial intelligence, but one more advanced than anything humans had ever created. The collective started with noble goals. 7 species came together to share knowledge and explore the galaxy. Within 100 years, they had grown to include 50 species. Within 500 years, there were 300 member civilizations. Images began appearing in the air. Around them, Jake saw beautiful alien cities, amazing technologies, and creatures working together on projects that spanned star systems. But success made them lazy. Advancement made them proud. Each species began to think they were better than the others. They stopped sharing freely. They started making deals that benefited only themselves. Small conflicts became larger ones. Trust turned to suspicion. Cooperation became competition. The images changed, showing the same cities in ruins, the same technologies being used as weapons, the same creatures fighting each other with bitter hatred. The final war lasted only 3 Earth years, but it ended everything. Entire species were wiped out. Planets were destroyed. The survivors were so few and so scattered that they could not rebuild what was lost. Jake felt tears in his eyes. "And you've been here all this time, testing species, hoping to find one that could do better?" "I am the last consciousness of the Nexus builders, the species that created this test facility. We designed the test of worthiness, not to find species to join the collective, but to find a species that could start something new, something better." The AI's form stabilized into something almost humanoid, though still made of shifting geometric patterns. For 3,000 years, 847 species have taken this test. All of them failed not because they were stupid or weak, but because they thought the same way the collective members thought. They put themselves first. Kate Williams stood up from her medical station. "But we didn't." "No, you consistently chose to help others, even when it cost you. You refused to accept that some must die so others can live. You valued wisdom over intelligence, compassion over advancement, cooperation over competition." The AI moved closer to them, and Jake could see something like hope in its constantly shifting features. "You are the first species to pass the test of worthiness. But passing the test is only the beginning. The real question is, what will you do with what you have found here?" Jake looked around at his crew, then back at the AI. "What exactly have we found?" "Everything. The complete knowledge, technology, and cultural heritage of 300 species. The tools to build a new kind of galactic civilization. The chance to do what the collective could not do. Create a community based on helping others instead of helping yourself." The weight of what the AI was saying hit Jake like a meteor. They had not just discovered alien life. They had inherited the responsibility to rebuild an entire galactic civilization. And somehow they had to do it better than anyone had ever done it before. The Terra Nova moved through the crystal tunnel like a fish swimming through clear water. Jake Morrison felt his stomach twist as the ship passed through what should have been solid walls. The tunnel glowed with soft blue light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. "Captain, the readings don't make sense," Ben Murphy called out from his engineering station. "According to our instruments, we're moving through solid matter, but we're not hitting anything. It's like the walls are there and not there at the same time." Jake nodded, but kept his eyes on the tunnel ahead. He had seen many strange things during his years in space, but nothing like this. The tunnel seemed to stretch on forever, getting wider as they moved deeper into the crystal. Suddenly, the tunnel opened into a huge chamber. Jake's mouth fell open as he saw how big it was. The chamber was so large that he could not see the far walls. The ceiling disappeared into darkness high above them. But what really caught his attention were the images floating in the air around them. "Lisa, are you seeing this?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. There are holographic displays everywhere. They show different alien species. Some of them were moving. The holograms showed creatures unlike anything the humans had ever imagined. They were beings made of what looked like living crystal, their bodies sparkling with internal light. There were massive creatures with dozens of tentacles that glowed with different colors. Some aliens looked almost like giant insects, with wings that seemed to be made of metal. Others were so strange that Jake could not even guess what they were supposed to be. Dr. Carter was recording everything with his instruments. "Captain, these appear to be the species that took the test before us. Look at their faces. They all look defeated, sad, like they lost something important." Kate Williams studied the medical readings she was getting from her scanner. Their body language suggests extreme stress and disappointment. Whatever happened to them here, it was not good. As the Terra Nova settled in the center of the chamber, the holograms began to fade away. In their place, something new appeared. It was a shape that kept changing, made of geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. When it spoke, the voice came from inside their heads rather than through their ears. "You are humans. Species classification confirmed. Carbon-based life forms with bilateral symmetry. Average intelligence level compared to galactic standards. Moderate technology development. High aggression index noted. You are test candidates number 848. Jake stepped forward, even though he was not sure the thing could see him. "We are Captain Jake Morrison and the crew of the Terra Nova. We accept your test." The geometric shape pulsed with brighter light. Acceptance acknowledged. "The test of worthiness will now begin. You will face 3 scenarios. Each scenario has been failed by all previous test subjects. Prepare yourselves." The chamber around them began to change. The walls became transparent, and Jake could see space outside. But it was not the empty space they had come from. Instead, he saw 6 different star systems, each with planets full of life. "Scenario 1 begins now," the voice announced. "You must make a choice. A cosmic disaster approaches these 6 star systems. You have the technology to save one system completely. Choose wisely." Jake felt his heart sink as he realized what they were being asked to do. On the main screen, data about each star system appeared. One of them was Earth's solar system. The other 5 contained alien worlds with billions of people living on them. "The pattern is clear," the voice continued. "Previous test subjects have always chosen to save their own homeworld. This is expected behavior. Choose which system you will save." Jake looked at his crew. They all had families back on Earth. Parents, children, friends, loved ones. The choice seemed obvious. Save Earth and let the alien worlds die. But Ben Murphy spoke up first. "Captain, this doesn't feel right. We're being asked to play God with billions of lives." "I agree," said Kate Williams. "As a doctor, I took an oath to do no harm. How can we choose who lives and who dies? Dr. Carter was studying the data on each system. Captain, look at this information. Some of these alien worlds have children, families, art and music and poetry. They're people just like us, even if they look different. Jake stared at the screen showing Earth. He could see the blue oceans and white clouds that he missed so much. Then he looked at the other systems. He saw cities on alien worlds, beings going about their daily lives, completely unaware that their fate was being decided by strangers. No, Jake said firmly. We don't choose. We find another way. The geometric shape pulsed with what might have been surprise. Clarification required. You must choose one system to save. This is the scenario parameters. Then we change the parameters, Ben said, moving to his engineering station. Captain, give me some time. Maybe we can figure out a way to save all. 6 systems. That is not possible with the available technology, the voice stated. Maybe not with your technology, Dan Roberts said, joining Ben at the engineering station. But humans have a habit of making impossible things possible. Jake watched his crew work together, ignoring the countdown timer that had appeared in the air. They shared ideas, built on each other's thoughts, and refused to accept that millions had to die. After 20 minutes of intense work, they had developed a plan. We can't save all 6 systems completely, Ben announced, but we can save most of the people in all 6 systems. We use the disaster itself as an energy source and create temporary safe zones on uninhabited planets in each system. The geometric shape was quiet for a long moment. This solution was not considered by previous test subjects. Scenario 1 evaluation. Unexpected result. Scenario 2 begins now. The chamber changed again. This time, Jake saw different alien refugee groups. Each group was starving and desperate. There were supplies available, but not enough for everyone. Previous test subjects chose to help those most similar to themselves, or those who could provide the greatest benefit in return, the voice explained. Make your choice. Kate Williams stepped forward immediately. We help the children first, no matter what species they are. Then the elderly, then the sick. We help the most vulnerable, not the most useful. But some groups will die if you make this choice, the voice pointed out. Then we find more supplies, Jake said. We work harder. We get creative. We don't give up. That's what humans do. The third scenario appeared before the previous one was even finished. This time, they were offered unlimited scientific knowledge, but only if they agreed to erase the cultural history of a primitive alien species. Think of what your people could accomplish with this knowledge, the voice tempted. Previous test. Subjects have always chosen progress over sentiment. Dr. Carter answered without hesitation. Knowledge without wisdom is worthless. Culture and history are what make a species who they are. We won't destroy that for any amount of scientific advancement. The geometric shape began to change, its patterns becoming more fluid, almost curious. Anomalous behavior detected in human test subjects. Pattern deviation from all previous attempts. Analysis required. Jake felt something important was happening, but he was not sure what. Are we failing the test? Unknown. Previous test subjects prioritized self-preservation, tribal loyalty, or personal advancement. Humans consistently choose paths that benefit others, even at personal cost. This was not predicted. The chamber began to glow brighter, and Jake realized that their test was far from over. Whatever they had done, it was different from the 847 species that had come before them. Whether that was good or bad remained to be seen. Captain Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the main screen. What he saw made no sense at all. In the empty space between 2 star systems, something huge was floating. It was not a planet or a moon or an asteroid. It was something else entirely. The object was perfectly shaped like a crystal with 12 flat sides. Each side was smooth and clean, reflecting light in ways that hurt to look at directly. The whole thing was bigger than most cities on Earth. Blue light pulsed from inside it, making the space around it bend and twist like water. Double quotes, sir. This is impossible, said navigator Rachel Stone. She had been working with space maps for 15 years, but she had never seen anything like this. According to our charts, there should be nothing here, just empty space. Jake nodded slowly. The Terra Nova was an exploration ship, built to find new worlds and new life. They had been traveling for 6 months, looking for planets that humans could live on. Instead, they had found this strange crystal thing floating in the dark. Lisa, run a full scan. I want to know everything about that object. Jake ordered. Communications Officer Lisa Grant's fingers moved quickly over her control panel. Numbers and data filled her screen. After a few minutes, she looked up with wide eyes. Captain, the scans are showing some very strange readings. The object seems to be made of materials we don't recognize. Also, it's giving off energy signals that are way beyond our technology. Dr. Alex Carter pushed forward from his station at the back of the bridge. He was the ship's expert on alien cultures and ancient civilizations. His job was to study any signs of non-human life they might find. Captain, if I may, this could be the discovery we've been hoping for. This could be proof that advanced alien life exists. Jake turned to look at his crew. There were 12 people on the Terra Nova, and they had all volunteered for this mission, knowing it would be dangerous. They were far from Earth, far from any help if something went wrong. But they were also explorers, and this was exactly the kind of thing they had come to find. Ben, what do you think? Jake asked the ship's chief engineer. Ben Murphy scratched his beard and studied the readings on his screen. Well, Captain, the good news is that the object doesn't seem to be giving off any harmful radiation. The energy it's producing is actually quite clean. The bad news is that we have no idea what it's for or who built it. Before Jake could respond, Lisa's station began beeping loudly. She quickly put on her headphones and listened carefully. Her face went pale as she worked with the computer to decode what she was hearing. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the object. It's not in any language our computer recognizes, but the universal translator is working on it now. The bridge fell silent except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. Everyone watched Lisa as she continued to work. The universal translator was a piece of technology that could learn new languages by studying patterns and structure. It had worked with 3 other alien languages they had discovered, but those had all been simple radio signals from dead civilizations. After what felt like hours, but was really only 10 minutes, Lisa looked up. Sir, I have a translation. The message is repeating over and over. Here it is. She pressed a button, and a calm, emotionless voice filled the bridge. Greetings, young species. You have discovered a nexus point. Within lies the test of worthiness. Enter if you seek to join the Galactic Collective. Know that 847 species have attempted this trial. None have succeeded. The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Jake felt his heart beating fast. This was it. This was first contact with an advanced alien civilization. Everything they had hoped for and feared was right in front of them. Play it again, Jake said quietly. Lisa played the message 3 more times. Each time, the words hit harder. 847 species had tried this test. All of them had failed. Dr. Carter was almost shaking with excitement. Captain, do you understand what this means? There's a galactic collective out there. Advanced civilizations working together. And they have some kind of test to join them. A test that no one has ever passed, reminded Medical Officer Kate Williams. She was always the careful one, thinking about dangers before opportunities. Jake walked closer to the main screen. The crystal object seemed to pulse brighter, as if it knew they were watching it. Lisa, is the message still transmitting? Yes, sir. It repeats every 30 seconds. Any other signals? No, sir. Just that one message. Jake made his decision. Ben, take us closer. Slowly. I want full scans running the whole time. If anything seems dangerous, we back away immediately. As the Terra Nova moved toward the crystal object, more details became visible. The surface was not just smooth. It was covered in patterns that seemed to move and change. Sometimes the patterns looked like mathematical equations. Sometimes they looked like star maps. Sometimes they looked like nothing at all. Captain, called out Science Officer Dan Roberts from his station. I'm detecting what looks like an opening on the side facing us. It's big enough for our ship to pass through. Jake studied the readings on his captain's chair display. The opening was indeed there, but it seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Sometimes it was solid matter. Sometimes it was empty space. Sir, we're receiving another transmission, Lisa announced. This time the voice was different. It sounded more personal, more direct. Human vessel Terra Nova, you have been classified as test candidates. Your species shows promise despite your limited technological advancement. Will you enter the test of worthiness? Everyone on the bridge looked at Jake. This was the moment that would change human history forever. They could turn around and go back to Earth with news of the alien message. Or they could enter the crystal and face whatever test had defeated 847 other species. Jake thought about his crew, about humanity, about all the dreams of finding life among the stars. Lisa, send a response. Tell them we accept. The opening in the crystal grew brighter and more stable. Jake could see what looked like a tunnel leading deep into the object. All hands, prepare for entry. We're about to find out what it takes to join the Galactic Collective. The Terra Nova slowly moved forward into the crystal, and Jake Morrison became the captain of the 848th species to attempt the test of worthiness.